My fiancé left me at the altar and ran away with my younger sister, but when my parents defended her and demanded I forgive her, I cut off my entire family and never looked back. I'm 26 years old. I work as an events coordinator, and there are still days when I wake up and can't believe that what happened a year and a half ago actually happened. I mean, it's one of those things that when you tell someone new about it, they look at you like you're making up some cheap novel, but I swear every word is true. Kevin, my fiancé, literally left me standing at the altar and ran off with my younger sister. Yes, you read that right. My sister. On my wedding day. And the worst part of it all, I think, wasn't even that, but what came after with my family. But I'll get to that part because I need to tell you everything from the beginning so you understand the magnitude of this craziness. Kevin and I had been dating since high school. You know, one of those couples that everyone assumes will end up getting married because they've been together forever. We met when we were 16. He was on the football team and I was on the school events committee. Typical, right? But the thing is, it really worked? Or at least that's what I thought. We made it through college together, him studying engineering and me communications, and when we turned 22, he proposed to me in the same park where we had our first date. It was perfect, romantic, everything a girl dreams of. We decided to wait until we were 24 to get married. We wanted to be more established career-wise, have some money saved up, do things right. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs. But when you're in love and trust someone blindly, it's incredible the things your brain just decides to ignore. My sister Danielle is 4 years younger than me, so when Kevin and I got engaged, she was like 18 years old, just turned. We were always close, or so I thought, you know, normal sister fights, but nothing serious. She was the baby of the family, the spoiled one, especially by my parents who basically never said no to her about anything in her life. I was the responsible one, the one who got good grades, the one who helped around the house, and she was the spontaneous one, the fun one, the one who could get away with anything with a smile. It never really bothered me. Everyone has their role in the family, right? But when Kevin started spending more time at my house during the engagement, Danielle and he developed a friendship that at the time seemed sweet and normal to me. He treated her like a little sister, teased her. They played video games together. She asked him for advice about her own boyfriends. I even thought how nice that my future husband got along so well with my family, especially with my sister. God, I was such an idiot. The months before the wedding were crazy with planning, as it is for any bride, I guess. I was obsessed with every detail. The flowers had to be perfect, the menu, the music, everything. Kevin seemed less involved, but he told me it was normal, that men don't get as excited about those things, and I let it go. Danielle helped me with some things. She was one of my bridesmaids along with my two best friends from college. There were a couple of times I came home unannounced and found the two of them watching movies or cooking together, and Kevin would tell me something like, "Oh, Danielle was bored and asked me to teach her how to make pasta." I didn't think anything weird. Seriously, because who suspects that their fiancé and their younger sister are developing something? It's not something your mind just assumes as a possibility. The wedding day arrived. April 15th. A perfect Saturday. Amazing weather. Everything was going exactly as I had planned. I woke up at the hotel where we were staying with my bridesmaids. We had champagne and strawberries for breakfast. We took 1,000 photos while they did our hair and makeup. I remember I literally felt like a princess. I had this beautiful white dress that had taken me months to find. My mom cried every time she looked at me. My friends told me they had never seen me so radiant. The ceremony was at 5 inches the afternoon at this gorgeous venue with huge gardens, and the reception would be at the same place. Everything was ready. Guests starting to arrive, music playing softly, the flowers perfect in their arrangements. 5 o'clock came and went. Kevin wasn't at the altar. The officiant looked at me with that uncomfortable expression, you know, trying to stay calm but clearly worried. I tried calling him. Nothing. Sent messages. Nothing. I asked my dad to call the best man, Kevin's best friend, and he didn't know anything either. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then half an hour. Guests were starting to murmur, pulling out their phones. The atmosphere changed completely from happy anticipation to confusion and pity. I was standing there in my wedding dress feeling like the protagonist of a nightmare, literally shaking. My mom trying to calm me down, saying there must have been an accident, that Kevin would arrive any moment with a perfect explanation. Someone, I think it was my cousin Austin, realized that Danielle wasn't there either. She was supposed to be with me the whole time as a bridesmaid, but the last time I saw her was like at 3 inches the afternoon when she said she was going to check something about the decorations. Austin tried calling her and discovered that Danielle had also blocked everyone. In that moment, something inside me just knew. You know what I mean? I didn't want to believe it. My brain refused to process the obvious conclusion, but a part of me already knew exactly what had happened. I felt like someone had dunked me in ice water. I couldn't breathe well. My hands were sweating, and all the perfect makeup was being ruined with tears I couldn't control. Kevin's dad arrived like 45 minutes after the start time, completely devastated, apologizing over and over. He took us to a private room, me and my parents, and told us that Kevin had left him a note that morning. A note. He didn't even have the guts to tell me in person or by phone. The note basically said he was sorry, that he couldn't go through with the wedding, that he had fallen in love with someone else, and that he needed to be honest with himself before making a mistake that would ruin both our lives. He didn't mention Danielle in the note, but Kevin's dad told us that one of the neighbors had seen them get into Kevin's car together that morning with suitcases, laughing, like they were going on vacation. They had left. They had planned everything, waited until the very day of the wedding to run away together, leaving me there like a complete idiot in front of 150 guests. I had to go out and announce that the wedding would not be taking place. My dad wanted to do it for me, but I felt like it had to be me. I don't know why. I stood in front of all those people in my wedding dress and my running makeup and said something like, "I regret to inform you that due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding will not be taking place today. Thank you for coming and for your understanding." People didn't know what to do. Some tried to hug me. Others just left quickly as if the place was on fire. Some clearly already knew from social media or gossip that Kevin had left with my sister, because I saw the looks of pity and heard the murmurs. It was the most absolute humiliation of my life. And when I say absolute, I mean it. The following days were completely blurry. I stayed in my apartment, which, ironically, Kevin was supposed to move into after the wedding, and I just existed. I couldn't eat. I slept like 3 hours each night. I cried at random intervals. I spent hours looking at old photos, trying to find the exact moment when everything got screwed up. My friends came to see me, brought me food I didn't touch, stayed with me watching movies I didn't process. Austin, my cousin, was incredible through all this. She basically moved in with me for 2 weeks to make sure I didn't do something stupid. I blocked Kevin on absolutely everything. Changed the locks on my apartment even though he never officially had keys, returned all the wedding gifts we could return, canceled the honeymoon we had planned in Greece. My parents were devastated too, or so it seemed at first. My mom cried as much as I did. My dad talked about suing Kevin for something even though it didn't make legal sense. But as the days went by, I started to notice something weird. Every time I mentioned Danielle with anger, my parents got uncomfortable, changed the subject, said things like, "Well, we don't know exactly what happened. Maybe there's more to this story." Like, seriously? What more did they need to know? Your younger daughter ran off with your older daughter's fiancé on her wedding day? There's not much to interpret there. But my parents have this thing of always protecting Danielle, of always justifying what she does, and apparently not even this was enough for them to open their eyes. About a month after the whole disaster, my therapist, because, yes, I started therapy, immediately because I felt like I was going crazy, told me I needed to find new routines, new hobbies, something that would get me out of the house and out of my head. So I started pottery classes. Super random, I know, but something about working with my hands and creating things helped me. I also started running every morning. I hated every second at first, but then it became my moment of peace where I could process everything. I went back to work after taking 2 weeks off, and honestly, work saved me in many ways because it forced me to focus on something other than my destroyed life. My coworkers were incredible. They never asked for details, but they supported me when they saw me struggling. About 5 months passed. I was starting to feel a bit more like a person again. Still with horrible days, but not in that constant black hole anymore, when Kevin called me from an unknown number. Seriously. 5 months without a single word, and suddenly he calls. I hung up on him immediately, the first time, but he kept calling. So, I finally answered and yelled at him. What the hell did he want? He said he needed to talk to me, that he owed me an explanation and an apology in person. I told him I didn't owe him anything, that it had taken him 5 months to even try to contact me, and that he could go to hell. He started crying on the phone, literally, saying he had made the biggest mistake of his life, that things with Danielle weren't working out like he thought, that he realized he loved me and that he had ruined everything for something stupid. That's when something inside me just broke. But not from sadness, but from pure rage. I told him, very calmly, which surprised me, that the only thing he regretted was realizing that the grass wasn't greener on the other side. That basically he only looked for me because his perfect plan with my sister didn't work out as expected. That he and Danielle had destroyed not only my wedding but years of my life, my relationship with my family, my ability to trust people. That I didn't care if he now realized something or if he was sorry. That was his problem and his burden, not mine. And I hung up and blocked him from that number too. I cried afterwards. I'm not going to lie, but they were different tears, like liberation almost, realizing that I really didn't want anything with him anymore, that the love I felt had turned into absolute indifference, mixed with disgust. About 2 weeks after that, my mom called to invite me to a family dinner. I knew it was a trap, but I accepted because, honestly, part of me missed my parents despite everything. I arrived at the house where I grew up, and obviously Danielle was there too. It was super awkward. She tried to hug me, and I literally took a step back. We sat down to eat, and my parents started with the topic, saying that enough time had passed, that we were family, that we needed to get over this and move on. Danielle had red eyes as if she had been crying, and she looked at me and said, "Rebecca, I'm so sorry. I know what I did was wrong, but I couldn't control my feelings. Kevin and I fell in love, and it wasn't something we planned." I laughed. Seriously. I laughed in her face, because how can you say with a straight face that you didn't plan something that obviously required planning? You don't run away together on a wedding day on impulse. My parents told me not to be dramatic, that Danielle was young and had made a mistake, that love is complicated and that I should understand. My mom literally told me that to forgive is divine and that holding on to this resentment was only hurting me. I exploded. I told them that Danielle wasn't a little child, that she was 20 years old when she did this, old enough to understand that betraying your sister in the most humiliating way possible has consequences. I told them I couldn't believe they were asking me to let it go as if it were something minor, as if it hadn't completely destroyed my life. My dad got serious and told me I needed to decide what was more important to me, my family or my pride. That Danielle was my sister, my only sister, and that sisters forgive each other. That they weren't going to take sides, but that they expected me to be the older one, the mature one, and take the first step towards reconciliation. Basically, they were giving me an ultimatum without saying it directly, like either you forgive Danielle and we act like nothing happened, or you're out of the family. Danielle kept crying, saying she missed me, that she wanted her sister back, and my parents were consoling her. Not me, her, as if she were the victim of this whole situation. I got up from the table, grabbed my things, and told them that if they really thought I was the problem here, then clearly there was nothing more to talk about. I told them I wasn't going to pretend I was okay with what happened just to make them feel comfortable. That forgiveness isn't something you demand or schedule with a calendar. That it's earned with genuine actions and real remorse, things that Danielle clearly didn't have if she kept justifying her actions as true love. My mom tried to stop me, saying I was being too harsh, to think about all the Christmases and birthdays I would miss, about the future nieces and nephews I might have. I told her I'd rather miss those things than betray myself by pretending everything was okay. I drove to my apartment crying the whole way, but when I got there, I sat down and wrote a letter. I didn't send it immediately. I let it sit for a few days, reread it several times, but eventually, I sent it by certified mail to my parents' house. In the letter, I explained that I loved them, but that I couldn't have a relationship with a family that minimized my pain and prioritized comfort over justice. That they needed to understand that what Danielle did wasn't a youthful mistake, but a calculated betrayal, and that the fact that they kept protecting her showed me they would never be on my side in this. I told them I didn't hate them, that I hoped someday they could see things from my perspective, but that in the meantime I needed distance and space to continue healing. That if someday Danielle really understood the magnitude of what she did and apologized genuinely without justifications, maybe we could talk, but that I wasn't going to maintain forced contact just to maintain the illusion of a united family. They never responded to the letter. My mom tried to call me a couple of times in the following weeks, but I didn't answer. Austin kept me updated on what was happening in the family. Apparently, My parents told all the relatives that I was the one who had cut off contact, that I had gotten dramatic and was being immature. Danielle apparently is still with Kevin, although Austin says they look miserable together, which doesn't surprise me because a relationship built on betrayal and selfishness doesn't tend to end well. Some relatives sent me messages supporting me. Others stopped talking to me out of loyalty to my parents. So basically the family ended up divided. It's been about 8 months since that dinner, a year and a half since the wedding that never happened. And honestly, I'm in a completely different place now. I moved to another neighborhood in the city, a new place where nobody knows my story unless I decide to share it. I have a new group of friends I met in pottery classes and in a book club I joined. I even went on a couple of dates. Nothing serious yet because I'm taking my time, but the point is, I don't feel broken like before. I still go to therapy because I think it's important. And my therapist has helped me understand that setting boundaries with toxic family doesn't make me a bad person. It makes me someone who respects herself. Does it hurt not to have contact with my parents? Of course it does. There are moments when I wish I could call my mom to tell her something random or ask her for her apple pie recipe. But then I remember how they treated me, how they prioritized not making Danielle uncomfortable over validating my pain, and I know I made the right decision. Austin tells me my parents ask about me sometimes, that they look sad, but that they still don't admit they did anything wrong. They keep insisting that I'm the stubborn one. And honestly, I might be stubborn, but I'm also someone who no longer accepts being treated like a second choice in her own family. Last week I was organizing a corporate event, a wedding curiously, and the bride was super stressed about every detail. I calmed her down, told her everything would be perfect, and as I watched her practice her waltz with her fiancé, I felt something weird. Not exactly sadness, but like nostalgia, mixed with relief. Nostalgia, for the innocence I had before, when I believed in happy endings and perfect families, but relief knowing I dodged a huge bullet. If Kevin had waited to marry me and then have his crisis and cheat on me with Danielle, it would have been 1,000 times worse. I would have lost even more time with someone who clearly didn't value me. I guess what I learned from all this is that biological family isn't always your real family, and that it's okay to walk away from people who hurt you even if they share your blood. That forgiveness is something you give when you're ready, and when the other person really deserves it, not when others decide that enough time has passed on their arbitrary calendar. And that you can rebuild your life from scratch when everything falls apart. It's hard and horrible, and there are days when you want to give up, but it's possible. Would I like to have a family that supported me unconditionally? Of course. Would I like Danielle to feel even a little bit of the pain she caused me? I'm not going to lie. Part of me does. Would I like Kevin to regret it for the rest of his life? Also. But none of those things are under my control, and I've learned to let go of what I can't change. What I can control is who has access to my life, who deserves my energy, and how I choose to move forward. And for now, moving forward means building a life that's mine, surrounded by people who really value me, without waiting for the people who hurt me to magically become who I needed them to be. The story doesn't have a perfect movie-type ending. I didn't marry a new prince or reconcile with my family in an emotional group hug. But I have peace, finally. And that's more than I thought I would have a year ago, when I was on the floor of my apartment unable to get up. So I guess that counts as a victory. Even if it's small. Even if it's just mine.